folks. Here we are at week, whatever it is, the week in which we're ready for you to begin your evaluations. Let me tell you, first of all, that you need to begin your evaluations like by October 1st at the latest, or you'll never have enough time to finish them. So don't panic, just begin lining up the people you want to interview, making up your mind what you want to observe, gathering together any focus groups that you want to use. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about the kinds of things that you do when you first start up an evaluation. First of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about evaluability assessment. I say a lot about evaluability assessment in the lecture notes for this week. Um, Evaluability assessment is something that we often wind up doing when we have professional jobs. And if you may find yourself in a situation where you may want to use this method. Evaluability assessment involves the evaluation of an existing program or a program that's about to be implemented to determine whether it can be evaluated. There are a number of things that are necessary for you to do an evaluation. For example, you must have reason to believe that the thing you're evaluating, the program or the product, has been implemented or has been put out there so that there's something to evaluate. You need to ascertain that the people who want the evaluation are clear on what it is they want to know from the evaluation and what they want to do with the results. Often when a program is just implemented or maybe a little bit poorly implemented, we can evaluate it. But if you find that the director of the program or people who are implementing the program don't seem to understand how the program is supposed to work, you might want to consider doing an evaluability assessment. An evaluability assessment is just like any other kind of evaluation. You use the same methods and the same approaches, but the central question that you're asking is, are the things here that I need to be able to evaluate this program? So I suggest that you read that part of the lecture and email me or leave me a message if you need more information. Another important thing for you to understand is program theory. I explained that back in, I think, week 2, but I need to make sure that you understand what it is. A program theory is the way the people who design the program believe that it will operate to achieve its ends. The program theory is either written down or it's in people's heads. If it's written down, that's nice if the people developed a logic model, for example, before they started the program. Still, it's a really good idea to confirm your understanding of the program by talking with the designers, if that's possible, to make sure that this is truly what they intended and that they didn't leave important things out of the program design. Speaking of design, probably the most important part of the implementation of an evaluation is the control that you maintain over the design of your evaluation. Back in, I think it was probably week 2, you began developing a design for your evaluation, one that you'll be turning in to me, I think, at the end of this week. That effort that you did in the program design is supposed to guide you through what you do in the evaluation. Evaluations are like anything else that human beings do. They have to be flexible. Things almost never work out exactly the way you planned them to work. So in implementing your evaluation, expect that you will have to perhaps add new kinds of inquiry, that you may have to add some questions, that the questions that you started out to talk about don't really mean much after you find out a little bit about how the program works. You can feel free to edit your program if you want. The thing is, make really sure when you edit your program that you document what you do. Write down changes that you made to anything about the program. If you added new kinds of data collection, if you dropped kinds of data collection, note those events and the reason, and keep that with the evaluation data so you don't forget it when you write the final report. I usually carry a notebook. I'm an anthropologist. I'm trained to keep field notes. So I usually carry with me a notebook in which I write down things like that. You can do it any way. I mean, field notes are a really good thing to do, whatever you're doing. But I don't care if you write it out on scraps of paper, as long as when the time comes for you to write the final report, you can say in your methodology section, we started out to do this and it didn't work for whatever reason, and we ended up doing this. Whether you put this in the text itself or in an appendix, it's a very important part of your evaluation reporting. Version control. If you're working on an evaluation team with a few people, there is almost infinite confusion possible in controlling the version that's being used of things like protocols, instruments, procedures, contact information. What tends to happen over the first month of an evaluation is that versions tend to pile up, because while you're collecting data, there's steady revision going on as you go. So it's really critical that you make sure always that you're working with the latest version of an instrument. It's very simple to keep track. When I save modified versions of a protocol, I save them as version 1, version 2, version 3, and so on, and I date the versions in a header. That way you can tell at a glance if you're working with the most recent version. Also, as the evaluator, it's your responsibility to make sure that when you or members of your team go out to do an evaluation activity, that you have the correct version of the protocol, the instruments, the things that you're going to use. Finally, I'd like to encourage you to get started as soon as you possibly can. The things that you need to do at the outset are, I think most of you have identified a project. So what you need to do is to find out who you're going to talk about, who you're going to talk to in implementing your evaluation. Make arrangements to talk to them. Telephone interviews are just fine. I really like in-person interviews because I'm an anthropologist and I like to talk to people. But either way is just fine. Sometimes it's not practical to do a telephone interview. Then go ahead and start collecting your data. If you need help or if you have questions, please email them to me either at the UNT email or, and I think mine is Mary Butler 2 UNT. I don't know. You have to look it up. I don't remember. Or send it to my home email, maryobutler@verizon.net. And I'll be happy to help you out. Good luck. Happy hunting. And I hope you enjoy this really most fun part of the evaluation. Talk to you later. Bye.